this is the first camp I can enjoy myself and be back. My headspace that I'm in now is way better than what I was before, and that's the only thing that matters to me.
A lot of things out there about the size and all of this stuff, but people forget that Tank's a top 10 pound for pound fighter, and he's got power in both hands. And skill-wise and technique-wise, he's been doing this for so long.
I feel like Tank has the edge for sure. He's a real fighter. I got skills, a high IQ fighter. Regardless of the weight, I've personally seen Tank, spar heavyweight.
Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis is the fight nobody saw coming. Two stars from completely different worlds are now set to collide in the same ring. Both are driven by pride, power, and the desire to prove they're the best. And the hype surrounding the showdown is absolutely real.
It's night and day, right? You have to understand, I went from doing YouTube and Disney Channel to 5 years, once to twice a day, 6 to 7 days a week, training, recovery, taking it more serious than ever. I'm just a different specimen. My body is filled out. I'm going into my athletic prime and going into that and my body filling out, I just feel amazing. It feels super strong.
Jake Paul has been vocal about the intense training camp he's putting together for his fight with Gervonta Tank Davis. He claims he's bringing serious talent into camp and even bragged about dropping a few sparring partners. Jake also revealed that Shakur Stevenson will be joining him this week to help sharpen his skills for the showdown. But what really caught fans off guard was Jake's rare moment of honesty, admitting that Tank Davis is dangerous. While many critics dismiss Tank because of his smaller size, Jake refuses to underestimate him. He openly acknowledges Tank's devastating power in both hands, saying he hits like a truck despite his shorter frame. Jake even admitted to feeling fear before stepping into the ring, a major statement coming from someone known for his bravado. That fear, he says, is a sign of respect for Tank's knockout power and skill, and proof that this fight is far from the joke some people think it is.
Going into a fight that I've actually ever been, because I know how good these people are that I'm sparring, and being able to see how good they are and knowing how good Tank is, it's actually going to be my toughest test to date.
Yeah, I think, Jake, you could make the argument, right? Pound for pound wise, this guy's the most ferocious dude in the whole sport, couldn't you?
For sure. I think he has probably one of the highest knockout percentages.
Yeah, 90-something%, right?
Exactly. And just his speed, his elusiveness, his ring IQ, his conditioning. He's gone 12 rounds so many different times, something that I've never even done. So he's going to be sharp all the way through. I mean, the list goes on. And so just actually being vulnerable for a second, it's like, this is crazy. This is scary. It's kind of keeping me up at night.
Jake, how do you prepare for, like you said, a guy who is shorter than you? How do you find a sparring opponent to replicate something that obviously, there's nobody else out there that's Tank Davis? How do you prepare for a guy that's different stature-wise?
Yeah, no, we have world champions. Raymond Ford in the 130-pound weight class. We got Montana Lovin. Shakur Stevenson is coming in this week. So Just sparring against guys on their level and people who have, been doing this their whole entire lives. But we're really focusing on speed. And not as much on power. I'm not doing as much like weightlifting and all of that stuff. I'm actually trying to lose some muscle so that I have less weight and so that my punches are coming off faster.
Many fans don't know the real story behind Gervonta Tank Davis's journey. From the very beginning of his career, Tank was never sheltered. He was thrown into wars with heavyweights in sparring. And not just any heavyweights. These were skilled, technical fighters who knew how to handle themselves in the ring. According to boxing analyst Showbiz the Adult, Tank didn't just survive those sessions, he dominated them. He punished bigger men, proving early on that size alone doesn't intimidate him. If Tank could hold his own against those giants in the gym, a cruiserweight like Jake Paul isn't going to shock him. Jake might have the size advantage, but Tank has already climbed much steeper mountains. Showbiz explained that those heavyweights Tank faced were not only bigger, but also far more experienced and technically sound than Jake Paul. While Jake has made impressive strides, transitioning from influencer to legitimate boxer, he's still learning, still refining his fundamentals. Tank, on the other hand, has been fighting elite competition since his teenage years. If he could dominate fighters far heavier and more skilled than Jake, then Jake's size advantage might not mean much. As Showbiz put it, this isn't a mismatch for Tank. In fact, it might be Jake Paul who's stepping into dangerous territory.
Or bigger people, like from middleweight to heavyweight. And the thing is, don't be surprised, okay? This is a photo. This is a photo of one of the bigger guys that he was sparring. But in the past, you know, like maybe a few years ago, he was fighting a guy in Mayweather's camp. He was a bigger guy. I think he was like a middleweight or something like that. He was whooping his ass. One time he was like on live whooping a bigger guy's ass. I mean, he's just beating bigger guys like middleweights and stuff. He's done that in sparring forever. Remember this story? I brought it up a million times and I've showed this clip a million times, but on Ellie set back. This story of this guy seeing how Gervonta Tank Davis knocked out this heavyweight.
Tell me the story. What happened?
What's the one boy's name?
No, don't say a name. I don't want to embarrass anyone.
Oh, no, you're right.
But tell people what happened.
And I was about to spar. Before I was about to spar Tank, he was sparring this big boy,
A heavyweight.
heavyweight boy. And Tank hit that nigga. He hit him so hard that he was on the top of the rope just like this. And like, I thought he died. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you. I thought he died.
Hey, I've seen him knock out some heavyweights. You might knock all that stuff down.
You knocked out a heavyweight?
Yeah.
How was that?
Because I hit harder than Wilder.
Now, granted, the heavyweights that Gervonta Tank Davis is whooping and sparring is not like, you know, all-time great heavyweights, all right? And it shouldn't be. But he's sparring the heavyweight, the level of heavyweight that, you know, more experienced than Jake Paul, right? But Jake Paul has beaten those heavyweights himself, right? I'm thinking that is the caliber of heavyweight that Gervonta Tank Davis is sparring, but he's whooping their asses. And that's a good thing. With Jake Paul sparring Raymond Ford, to me, it looked like Raymond Ford got the best of him. It looked like Jake Paul was a little exhausted, and it looked like Raymond Ford wasn't. It looked like Jake Paul was a little disappointed in his performance, and Raymond Ford was trying to give him a pick-me-up. Like, you know, just kind of letting him know, like, you know, you do this and do that. It just looked like Raymond Ford was in a confident, secure place, more dominant place, the more alpha out the two in the ring, and that's Raymond Ford. That ain't Gervonta Davis. You know, I love Raymond Ford. I have him on my fighters list. But still, I don't think anyone thinks he's as skillful or as powerful as Gervonta Tank Davis.
Tank Davis has made his decision. He's not going back to 135 pounds. The weight cuts were too harsh, the drain too real. He wants to stay sharp, strong, and fully charged. By moving up to 140 pounds, Tank believes he's entering his prime, both physically and mentally. This shift represents more than a change in weight. It's a sign of growth, maturity, and ambition. The move sets the stage not only for his clash with Jake Paul, but also for future battles with the biggest names in the super lightweight division. Once the Jake Paul showdown is over, Tank plans to stay at 140 permanently, confident that he'll deliver even stronger and more explosive performances. He wants to dominate this division and prove that his power and skill transcend weight classes. While some fans think the higher weight could give Jake an advantage, Tank completely disagrees. He insists that this is where his body performs best: better stamina, cleaner timing, and even more devastating knockout power. At 135, he was already destroying opponents with spectacular finishes. At 140, he's aiming for show-stopping destruction. If his prediction holds true, Jake Paul could be the first to experience just how terrifying this new and improved Tank really is.
Or had been throwing fits a few weeks ago when Gervonta had announced that he would be fighting Jake Paul in, I believe it's coming up in just about a month, or a little bit less than a month, and that he would not be, at least immediately, he would not be rematching Lamont Roach. So people went all up in arms. Shout out to my guy Big Dog Willie, who even right now is claiming that Gervonta Davis is going to go try to fight in WWE or something like that when he gets done with Jake Paul. But the truth of the matter is that Gervonta Davis is coming back to boxing. He's always said that he's coming baback to boxing. He said he's going to run off, get this bag real quick, and he'll be right back. Well, as you see, the 135-pound WBA, the WBA, where he holds his 135-pound championship, has not stripped him. They said that they were going to look into it if he had not rematched Lamont Roach, but nothing ever really came of that. So as of right now, he still has his 135-pound title, but I'm telling you, the way that things are panning out, I don't think he's going to go back down to the 135-pound division. I think he's going to go to the 140-pound division where really and truly all the smoke is there. Add to it the fact that when he fights Jake Paul, he's going to be fighting Jake Paul at a higher weight than he would necessarily be fighting guys at 135 pounds. You're probably not going to see him drain down for the fight. I don't think he's going to bulk up at all, but usually when guys play with their weight and they go up and allow themselves to fight at a higher weight or fight people at a higher weight classes.
Carmel Moughton recently shared his take on the upcoming Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis showdown, and he's confident that Tank has the clear edge. According to Carmel, the size difference won't mean much because Tank has spent years sparring with heavyweights. He's used to facing bigger men, so Jake's extra pounds won't intimidate him in the slightest. Carmel emphasized that this fight isn't about size, it's about skill. In his eyes, Tank is a master-level boxer, while Jake is still very much in the learning phase of his career. He predicts Tank won't just win, he'll win convincingly. What makes Carmel's words carry even more weight is his first-hand experience. He's seen Tank train behind closed doors, watch the precision, the discipline, and the power that most fans never get to witness. As Carmel put it, talent beats size, and skill beats strength. Tank Davis embodies that truth every time he steps into the ring.
Tank versus Jake Paul.
I feel like it's gonna be a good fight, entertaining. It's an exhibition, so we're gonna see how serious they really take it, but I don't know, they both getting a lot of money, so, congrats to them.
What if you had it, who has the edge in this fight?
I feel like Tank has the edge for sure. He's a real fighter, I got skills, a high IQ fighter. Regardless of the weight, I've personally seen Tank, spar heavyweights, and even me, I spar heavyweights, So the weight's not really too much, for a lot of great fighters, so I feel like Tank will get it for sure.
Do you think it kind of be an advantage because he's small and fast? Someone said that. I'm I didn't think about that actually.
Yeah, possibly. You're gonna see a lot of Jake Paul's punches coming. He can be able to evade them and they set him up for a big counter.
Wait, but do you think this is gonna be different than the other Jake Paul fights we've seen, against Mike Tyson and Julio Cesar Chavez? I know a lot of people weren't the happiest with that, but I feel like Tank's gonna give him a different fight. Do you think so?
I think so. We'll see how he adapts because a lot of people think it's hard, for a small guy to be fighting a bigger guy, but it's also hard for a big guy to be fighting a smaller guy. It's a small target, they're very fast, so we'll have to see how he adapts to it.
Wait, and is Floyd Mayweather versus Mike Tyson really happening?
Yeah, that's happening.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Wait, is there a date already, or what's going on?
I don't think there's a date yet, but it's definitely an official fight and it's happening.
So what do you gotta say about that? What's going on?
It's gonna be a great show. Floyd's gonna do his thing. Hopefully I'm on the undercard so I can put on a great show as well.
No, really? You guys already talked about that?
Not yet, no, but we'll have to see. Yeah, for sure.
And are you gonna fight again this year? What's next with you, Carmel?
I don't know. At the moment, we haven't heard nothing. We're just waiting, staying patient, staying ready. But I should be back at least one more time before the end of the year.
When the fight was first announced, Shakur Stevenson was one of its harshest critics. He openly questioned why an elite champion like Gervonta Davis would choose to face a YouTuber-turned-boxer instead of another top-tier professional. To Shakur, the matchup felt like an insult to the sport, a spectacle that cheapened the legacy real fighters work their entire lives to build. But now, the situation has taken an unexpected turn. Reports suggest that Jake Paul offered Shakur a lucrative deal to join his training camp and help him prepare specifically for Tank style. That revelation has raised plenty of eyebrows across the boxing world. Analysts argue that if Shakur truly felt the fight disrespected boxing, he would have refused any involvement. Yet, as soon as a financial incentive came along, he accepted the role. The same fight he once labeled as circus is now one he's indirectly helping promote. Observers see this as a reminder of boxing's harsh reality. In this business, opinions can shift fast when the right amount of money hits the table.
A lot of money to help in the account. It's easy money to come spar somebody or whatever. Go get your money, right? But what's funny to me is for someone who had nothing positive to say about this fight, and someone who was critical of Tank Davis for taking this fight, and tried to shit on Tank Davis for taking this fight, he sure is doing whatever he can to be a part of it. He sure is doing whatever he can to be a part of the fight. And then to take that a step deeper and a step further, for someone who doesn't want to talk about Tank Davis anymore, he sure is making moves to ensure that he is continued to be mentioned with Gervonta Tank Davis. Shakur Stevenson is not stupid. The new firm that he hired to do his PR work and get him to do these interviews and try to enhance his brand, they not stupid. Jake Prince not stupid. Josh Dubin not stupid. The people around Shakur Stevenson have been building social media brands, building boxers, and building talent in different industries at the same time. I mean, for a long time. They know how this shit works. They not dumb. They know the conversation that is going to surround Shakur helping Jake Paul. Tank Davis' biggest rival going to camp to help Jake Paul. If Jake Paul has any kind of success in the fight, Jake Paul was successful because Shakur Stevenson is on a different level and he helped prepare Jake Paul for the fight with Tank. That's why Jake Paul did so good. They know this, bro. And to me, that's the problem that I always have with these guys like Shakur Stevenson. You can throw Lamont Roach in there. You can throw Devin Haney in there, bro. You can throw Keyshawn Davis in there if you want to. My issue is they won't admit what it is. And I guess it's an ego thing, it's a pride thing, because I get it, bro.
Offset offered a different take on the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis showdown. One centered on the physical dynamics of the matchup. He believes Jake's natural size and strength could give him a genuine chance to pull off the upset. The weight gap is clear, and Offset thinks that if Jake lands one clean, well-timed shot, it could change everything in an instant. Still, Offset isn't ignoring Tank's brilliance. He acknowledged that Gervonta Davis is a master technician, a fighter who can slip punches, counter with lightning speed, and make his opponents miss all night long. That's what makes this matchup so intriguing to him. While Offset leans slightly toward Jake because of his physical advantages, he also admits that Jake might never even land that perfect shot. Against someone as sharp and elusive as Tank, power alone might not be enough in Offset's eyes. This fight is the ultimate clash between size and skill. A powerful, heavy-handed challenger stepping in against a slick, battle-tested champion. That much of the criticism directed at Gervonta Davis doesn't come from genuine concern for the sport. It comes from envy. They argue that jealousy has followed Davis from the very start of his career, and now that he's set to earn one of the biggest paydays in boxing, that envy has only grown louder. These experts believe many of the same fighters criticizing Tank would jump at the exact same opportunity if it were offered to them. Instead of giving Davis credit for turning his hard work into financial success, they continue to question and attack his choices. According to these analysts, the negativity surrounding Tank has little to do with boxing integrity and everything to do with frustration. Frustration from those who wish they were in his shoes.
Fire. I get the chance to pick a great business mind brain and help give him some game in the process. I'm down. Oh, we know you're down. So for one, you look like you hating on Tank, bro. Like you specifically. Two, this is the same guy that said he's not watching the fight, but now you're somewhat taking part in the fight because you're trying to gather or help prepare Jake Paul for the fight. And then this is what Shakur Stevenson does, in my opinion. Shakur will make questionable choices, do certain things, right? And then afterwards, he'll be like, yeah, now that I got y'all attention, I got everybody mad at me. Bro, the stuff you're doing is weird. You know what I mean? And it's almost like, to me, it's almost close to like Karen behavior, in the sense that Karens, you see some of these Karens and they do all this extra stuff and they act like the victim. And I told you that's one of the main problems with Gen Z, right? Where Gen Z, they will do just weird things, make weird choices, make weird decisions, and then they'll act like, man, I'm Tupac, me against the world, everybody's against me. Everybody's not against you. You're just doing weird things. You're making weird decisions. It's weird behavior, so on and so forth.
So let's ultimately recap. We got to do the Boxing Ego recap to see what's really going on here.
There's also growing debate over the rumored purses for the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight. Reports claiming earnings between $20 and $40 million each sound realistic to most analysts. But when some outlets started suggesting that both fighters could walk away with nearly $200 million apiece, the skepticism kicked in. Many insiders believe those massive figures are exaggerated, numbers designed more to fuel headlines than reflect reality. While the fight is undeniably massive and the global attention surrounding it is unprecedented, most experts agree that such astronomical payouts seem unlikely. For now, the financial details remain shrouded in mystery. Impressive, yes, but uncertain.
It says 150 to 200 mil.
That'd be the most any athlete's ever made in one event, in one night. Where are they getting that money?
I mean, it's Netflix.
Okay. Mike Tyson didn't make that. Jake Paul didn't make that.
Yeah. 20 million, I would believe, not 200 million.
20 million seems realistic.
That's a lot.
Even because Netflix is bigger, but there's no pay-per-view model, so. And Gervonta is a big pay-per-view draw, especially for being a lighter weight class.
Yeah.
So 20 to even 40 I can get.
Oof, that's a lot.
40 I can understand.
When push comes to shove, though, like 20.
Like Canelo's getting that 40.
Yeah.
But Gervonta Davis, he was, especially on Showtime, he was a big pay-per-view star.
Yeah.
He's a knockout artist. 200 mil is just completely false.
Man, I mean,
Swipe. What it says? Swipe to read more. What else does it say?
No, there's nothing there. That was probably from the original.
God, Jake is so much bigger.
Yeah, man.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates, breakdowns, and exclusive boxing news. Until next time, keep your guard up and your passion for the sport alive.